just think it's kind of amazing how things came full circle and how I even predicted my own death and whatnot rising from that. Like the Phoenix, which is, like I just said, all I said without recording it, which was University of Chicago's mascot, the Phoenix, or is, and yeah. It's like in the order of things I have sitting here listening to Aaliyah. Next day is poison, fever, flu, phantom, stab wound in my rib, went to the hospital, CAT scan, and then they put me on an IV, and I finally was able to fall asleep because I couldn't even keep like water down or medicine prior to that. So, and then I woke up and I felt fine. And there's other things as well, like country chicken, like that video of ponies, horses, and whatnot, the place over there. And well, that represented one of those guys. I forget what else was that, but yeah, it's kind of interesting how it goes down, the videos in order. Bad teacher. Title 2. Just kind of see how it reflects the crucifixion and rising from the grave 3 days. And the boys, me and the boys, disciples. And yeah, predicted my own 7 years ahead of time. Almost in the, like, pretty much, yeah, exactly in order of the way things happened. I was, like, shocked. Because it was just like, you know, I would watch my videos back, my tarot readings back, and whenever I said, like, oh, that reminds me of that, or whatnot, I found links for songs and whatnot, visual candy, visual metaphors for my tarot readings to find further connections and entertainment. But so that was just me going back through that reading and calling out those songs that I had mentioned throughout it and things that reminded me of things I mentioned in the reading. And so it's just bizarre. 7 years ahead of time. I guess my timing can be like relied on, and people are so like, oh, on me, I need to know now. Even I'm like that, you know, like, had I not found that, had I not even made it, I wouldn't have, like, proven the legitimacy of all of that, I guess. Well, something they can't argue with because they weren't at the hospital being poisoned and phantom knife wound. That would be documented, so it could be on medical records. Just as it is, like, a reflection of my life, and I hoped that through quantum entanglement we could all kind of see how we're connected. And there was a whole video on that, taking responsibility and talking about that's the factors I've considered and put into my practices, codes, themes, things I look for in videos. Prior, you know, beginning of all this, and I'd make a playlist usually with 1 or 2 of those connections out of like the 5 or 6, or like if you count all the asteroids, 12. 421. And then I felt like the rest of them are like maybe equivalent to the external factors in life that can pull at you. You know, they say that conjunctions, which is when you have like a stellium, planets right next to each other, versus like the grand air trine when they can all see each other sitting around a round table and communicate clearly. It's kind of like trying to talk to someone down the line, you know, like whispering phone, you know, with a game. I have that Versace campaign whispering the, what's the word, bird? You know, so you can't, like, there's more of a push and pull with conjunctions. And so I was saying, like, that if I were to focus on one playlist and follow that theme throughout everything else that I pulled into that playlist, and the external factors that the videos were chosen for that are still existing within that, just not the reason I made that playlist. They make their own sort of connections between each other and the other videos that also have like 5 or 6 codes and whatnot. So then it becomes this kind of quantum entanglement, although my reason for making that playlist, and if you follow the connective thread through, it tells you what it's about. All those other connections kind of make connections and external factors in the background on their own, and whether or not they equate to what the reason was for the playlist, the point of the playlist, then, you know, it's kind of like what can either help or detract. And when people find their own connections, which I want them to do, you know, but also then not like blame me for like what the conclusions they come to, because say they start with what reason I put that one video in, you know, and then it goes off in one of those external factor reasons, and then that even connection with that, and then, you know, it becomes one of those things where iterations in a way, and kind of sometimes detracts from the original point if you forget about that. But, and how everything's just sort of connected and things are relative to a certain degree. But that if, you know, you're not going to listen to the reasons why I put some things together, are pretty objective for the most part. And this is talking about my own experiences. And, you know, people can go off on all these tangents and say, oh, start blaming someone for it, you know. And then, oh, well, that's what she intended, or I'm getting the wrong impression off of this, and I think that's what she's about. And it's like, it's kind of a demonstration in and of itself on how we as a species, human race, love to blame each other and love to find excuses and love to like go off on our own like little, to some degree that's fine, you take responsibility for it. Whatever conclusions you come to based on your own like sort of train of thought and finding connections, they're all there. It's kind of like, what do you choose to focus on? Why I put them in there so that you can follow the storyline and see what it is that I'm trying to, the concept I'm trying to get across, and or do you, you know, for your own purposes in a way, also, as many people do, find those connections and starting points and whatnot. But, you know, forget that just because 1 + 1 = 2, we must first know the meaning of plus, and that's the guitar chord from Alphaville. And just the connective tissue, the connective factor that brings to either similar or disparate ideas together, visuals or people even. Is that, you know, in all these projects I kind of like took a slightly different approach, where it was like the Lens series first, trying to like combine those, finding similarities between the fashion and the art, but then in a way you can't like really make something new unless you identify what distinguishes them and sort of try to reconcile those differences, which is the temperance art card reconciliation. Another Hermetic Tarot deck that's, which one was it? Daughter of Firmament. It's in that JFK Jr. Caroline Kennedy tarot reading. Last readings I've done, I haven't done a reading in a very long time, and I thought maybe I could, but I don't even know where all my tarot cards at. And there's just all those times that those unexpected things happen. And talking about the Princess of the Powers of the Air and the cards that have come up with Justice, and I think it's Prince of Swords, and Justice can mean gateway, expression numbers. This way you don't reduce like 29 or 11 down to 2 critical and master numbers. Although the lowest number, like the lowest common denominator kind of thing, lowest degree within a house. So my Saturn 1 kind of charts the whole thing, has the most, astrology has the most, I guess, weight. And then between 1 and 4, there's, empty spaces like the High Priestess, or my midpoint, Sun, Moon, point, which is, say, the most pure expression of Sun, Moon energy. Self-expression and emotion. And so you can do it by hand or you can do it with numbers, a calculator. You get either two numbers, you get to like minus 180 degrees or something like that. Mine's Pisces, which is also it's 2 degrees Pisces, which is the High Priestess, beginning of the water floodgates. All the water cards. So usually associated to Pisces. Yeah. Otherwise, the opposite would be Virgo, and all the houses are, the ways in which those energies come across. So usually talking about connections and visual. Since Virgo rules the 6th house, originally it's about day-to-day, daily activities, habits, routines, daily grind. And then I have Neptune there, so it's kind of like, again, bringing that Piscean energy down into the reality of Capricorn, which I thought said since your birth chart then flavors the original houses. So since Virgo's the 6th house, but I have Capricorn there, it's kind of almost like a mask of the original energies. Everyone's would be Virgo, the Virgin, Capricorn, there's all the like eternal and Pisces and things that are just like sometimes, I think, even like smoking, which I'm gonna quit, I'm gonna get hypnotherapy. Which really does work. I'm a Jersey smoker I used to work with at a restaurant. We're both hosts. She did it and she said she quit immediately, 2 years. It's just kind of by choice, start picking up again. But yeah, I feel like those they sort of flavor or whatnot the meaning of that house, and so sometimes people can like prevent it from seeing my my pure aspects by all the, the mask of the Capricorn, but actually compared to like, masks in Photoshop and layers, which I'm not great at. I'm good at like, I can figure something out if I have like a, purpose, a point, like I want that to look like that, and I want it to I have to figure out how to do it. So I know specifically how to make that one illustration, digital illustration on like the Lens series, and I'd be really great at that, but they don't really teach Illustrator, Photoshop, like coding and like that kind of thing or anything like that. You're just making technical flats and tech packs and scanning in fabrics and rendering fabrics. Well, you have to like learn all the ins and outs of how to do that kind of thing. So for like the Lens series, there's a lot of experimentation, a lot of YouTube tutorials of anything beyond how to make a tech pack and flat. All those like 3D kinds of things. It's fun. I feel like that's when you're just kind of experimenting, and sometimes all these, like these tarot readings or experiments, metaphysics, timing, predictions, and just anything crazy would happen. Like that being thrown into my fence when that justice card and whatnot had come up. And, yeah, and I was driving by the graveyard and there was something out the window. I was angry and I hit the fence and I was like, that would be like some sort of psychological movie where it's like loops back on itself and someone threw a Diet Coke can at the gate and then it switches back to 7 years ago and I'm like, what was that? We're just kind of like this, what happened with reading in the notes and whatnot, all these time loops or time paradoxes in a way. It seems like it's like grandmother paradox. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. How did this happen? And I like responded to myself in my tarot reading. I was listening to, oh, it's just like, it's so funny. But yeah, I wanted people to like be as amazed as I was at some of these unusual things that were happening in my life that I couldn't necessarily explain, and maybe even offer insights or what do you think about that, but to witness it. Mary, you are my witness. That can, because end of the day, like I don't see like you can't prove to the contrary. I mean, I feel like it's this way or that. Yes, the validity of it or not, and there's more evidence to say that that did happen or it means something or this or that or conclusion I've come to, like trying to prove reincarnation and cats and all these kind of things. Because obviously they're not going to shut down slaughterhouses in China and whatnot because they feel bad or like, nice people, animal lovers, like has some sort of self-interest there, and Muslims believe in like Buddhism and things like that over reincarnation, animal spirits and whatnot, and just to say that there is a lot to that, and especially even that Thumbtack has consciousness, then what the hell are they doing torturing innocent animals? Could be eating their ancestors. They're reincarnated as a cat, unfortunately, in a slaughterhouse or something like that. They're supposed to be honoring their ancestors, like one. Or little animal pet friends that help her along the way. And what if one of you prayed for guidance during a really difficult time in your life and your ancestors heard your cries and went through the whole process of reincarnating a whole life just to meet you along your path, in one instance to give you the right guidance. And what did they do? They tortured and threw it in a boiling water, ate it for lunch. It's terrible how they treat animals over there in those slaughterhouses. Absolutely disgusting. We're the caretakers of the planet. Some might argue that there is, you said, by praying animals for food in the way that we did, but absolutely not in inhumane, horrendous conditions that sometimes they never even put their paws on the ground. They're nailed to the walls. It's put under their nails. It's just awful. So I'd hope that improving, like, I don't know, driving up to the stray cats where I feed them down the block, we're used to, since all the neighbors were like, we need to get rid of the shit on our lawn chairs, blah, blah, blah. They've been there forever. Everyone even, like, visits them. One was named Fat Albert, and I renamed him Fuzzy, because he's a really big fuzzy cat. And Sweetie, and when I pulled up one day to feed them, I was like, hi, Fuzzy, and he came running over to me, and right at that minute, my dad texted me, and Fuzzy's what Edie Sedgwick called her father. It's just bizarre, these little occurrences. So, in people's own self-interest, I would suggest to the fact that we're all connected and we're all, incurring karma. I don't think they want to incur their own karma, especially that kind of karma. Thus, they awaken as adorable little kittens and puppies in a slaughterhouse to be eaten the next day. They are incurring the karma. So, I just thought that would be a valid argument for people who oftentimes believe in those types of religions and belief systems. I hope they'd listen. These animals, they're our babies. We're supposed to take care of them. They're supposed to care for them. Caretakers. Groundskeepers. This is my land. Not just this, but all of it. Intersection. That's what I mean. Yeah. And I had people follow my family's cues back when they came over here, 1600s, lived peacefully with the Conestoga tribe. Well, we would have had a lot of really adorable biracial children way earlier. Accepted by, people who are so still. Yeah, and I don't know, we wouldn't have displaced Native Americans and just come together. The irony behind the grocery store stories that my great-grandparents, when they came over Germany, were duped out of a supermarket, bad investment, lost their fortune. Just a lot of different videos, a lot of different things. And they're here, the Chanel ballerina. Jesus, let everyone know. There's another level, the arrival, alien. They're here. Sounding the alarm. The British are coming. As I always did. But that's just a theory concept, really, so I don't know. Just wanted people to appreciate what it was I was talking about, and if any strange things were occurring in my life, and try to make sense of the mystery of these things that seem to add up so much, but maybe it did, but it seemed to be a piece missing, and I don't know. I even tried to recreate that light portal vortex I saw over there. I took a picture of motion, different locations I was standing, same lighting. I couldn't. To non-repeatable, completely unique, distinct individual moments, and yeah, I think it's so, on a small scale, it's quantum visual demonstration of quantum entanglement. It's just also to, even if I tried to, you just can't really recreate the same feeling of a time, even I don't know. It's quantum entanglement. It's just every little thing had to happen at that exact moment, that right minute, ensure that I'm always reminded of that when I look back and, for instance, find a tarot reading that perfectly describes the order of circumstances and happenings, and well, you just can't make it up, and why would you want to? It's just kind of like that disputes the miraculousness and the beauty in life, because that's just, even though there's so much beauty in the ordinary, mundane, every day that we take for granted, sometimes it takes those occurrences in order to remind us. Which is when I looked up 26 and verses in the Bible and Devil's Advocate, and how Jesus says he'll send an advocate to remind all his teachings. And then, I don't know, again, matter of perspective.